Hello everyone and welcome back to AustinTalks, the first video of 2023, where the first video of this year we have a special guest. His name is
Jonathan,
which is also known as my dad. Welcome to the show.
welcome, thank you.
We've been trying to plan this video for quite a while. It's a video about like music, because my dad's a big fan of music, but then again, who isn't? So I thought we've piled a couple questions. He has not seen any of them, and some of his favorite like bands and all that. So yeah, let's just get right into this. First off, what was the first record you ever listened to? The things you remember when it comes to music is the first record or song you've ever listened to. But that doesn't apply to me because I can't remember, but I do think that he does.
Right, that's a good one. So when I started listening to music, it was on obviously vinyls on record players. So my earliest recollection of listening to music was probably on my nan's what they call gramophones, or record players as we call them.
Yeah.
And it was probably the Beatles, and probably one of the originals, Love Me Do. That was probably my first recollection of music. And other records that I remember listening to of my nan's is like Lonnie Donegan. There's some the Carpenters even later on, but yeah, I think the Beatles were the first ones I actually listened to, and I still listen to the Beatles today.
That is true. Whenever we're in the car, majority of the time it's either Beatles or something else. So, what was the first concert you ever went to? Concerts are a very memorable thing for their own reasons, but this would be different for my dad as it was a very different time then. So, go on.
My first ever concert.
Or live play.
No, my first ever concert was Genesis at Nedworth. And if anyone knows that, it's a huge place. In recent years, Robbie Williams played there to over 100,000 people. I went to see Genesis back in probably 1988, maybe 87.
You would have been...
I was 15 or 16 when I went to see my first big concert. And yeah, there was around 105,000 people there. I remember it. I remember getting home at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yikes!
Yeah,
Oh.
5 o'clock in the morning from there, because it's nearly 4 hours to get out of the car park.
So you're you at this time you still live with Danny, right?
Yeah, I still live that night.
What did she say when you came in?
I actually went to the concert with the next door neighbour at the time. They'd organised a minibus, and I managed to get they got me a ticket to see Genesis because I was a big Genesis fan.
Yeah. I mean, and what's funny when he says this is like, if anyone knows this place, all my viewers are definitely not gonna. A lot of my viewers are not gonna know the bands that I have.
Nedworth's a stately home in the UK with a massive like fields and grounds and that's where they held concerts there.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why does music live so near and dear to your heart? Whilst this is a common question, I'm actually curious to find out why. Because I did ask my dad what topic if you were to come on my channel, what would you want to talk about? He immediately said music without hesitation. So I'm actually really curious to why it's so near and dear to his heart.
Probably. Well, my dad always had music, right? And he's always had very good taste in music. And it was always something there was a record player there. My nan always, bear in mind, when I was growing up, there was very few TVs around. My nan and granddad didn't have a colour TV. So a lot of the time it was the radio or records and things like that. So at the time there was very little choice in TV, so music was the main thing. Either the radio or records, and later on tapes.
But is it because you've grown so much from them? That's why you always play it in the car.
And the type of music that was about, or type of music I was brought up with was the 60s music. Even though I was a little bit too young to live in or wasn't born in the 60s. I was born in the 70s. But at that period, the music, you had such a variety of music. You had Beatles, you had Buddy Holly, you had Rolling Stones, Genesis, Pink Floyd. You had a lot of great bands, Fleetwood Mac. You had a lot of great bands around at the time, with different styles of music, and it was just something I was brought up with.
Yeah, and this, for those who live where I am, on the radio there's either Radio 1 or Radio 2. Radio 1 is like new music. Radio 2 is old music. That's what he listens to. And whenever I ask him, can you change the radio station, he will always say no. So yeah. So now, top bands and artists. Now, before everyone goes, oh, this is not fact. These are all personal preferences. This is not facts. This is just these are all the ones that I chose that I'm just gonna ask him about. So first off is the Beatles. So what?
Favourite.
So there's 4 questions on here. Favorite song, first song you ever heard of the Beatles. Have you been to a concert? Thoughts on them in general. So, favourite song?
Favourite song.
We could be here for a while, folks.
They've got so many, but they've literally got hundreds that, probably not hundreds, but there's probably at least 20 I can name that I think are brilliant songs. But for me, Yesterday is probably my favourite.
Yesterday. Yeah, so no, that's an amazing Beatles song.
The first song I heard of theirs was Love Me Do, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
It was off of vinyl, my nan's 45. Have you been to a concert of theirs? No, because they'd split up. By the time I was born, they'd split up.
Really?
Yeah, they'd split up. They'd gone, well, when you think John Lennon was killed in 77. 78. And they'd never performed later on. And in general, thoughts on them? Probably the greatest band, probably the greatest pop band ever. There's always going to be the argument between who are the best, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. To my mind, I think the Beatles, with that type of music, I think were the best. They came from the British roots, skiffle bands and things like that, whereas Rolling Stones they played a lot of the Chicago blues, which is the American music at the time.
Beatles, like, there's not a song I don't. Well, there's probably a few that I don't. I don't know Love Me Do, but I know Yesterday. What's it called?
Sergeant You Weeps.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one's my favourite. Yeah. That one's my definite favourite. So yeah. Right.
Foo Fighters, favourite song, first song you ever heard.
Yikes.
Favourite song. Oh my! Times Like These is probably my favourite. But then there's Everlong. That's a very close second. First song I ever heard. Pretender.
Really?
Probably Pretender is the first song I ever heard. Sadly, no, I haven't seen them in concert. I was due to go
in November.
No, not last November. November before. It was November
right. Yes.
2021, but they cancelled. And then sadly, last year Taylor Hawkins died. What general thoughts on them? Dave, the lead singer and who formed the band, he's gone through so much tragedy when he was with Nirvana. People don't know he was with Nirvana. He was the drummer with Nirvana, with one of the greatest grunge singers, songwriters ever, Kurt Cobain. They were at the peak, and he sadly died, Kurt Cobain, and Dave Grohl carried on. He took his material and formed the Foo Fighters over 20 years ago, and they've been going since then. And then to go through the next tragedy with Taylor Hawkins and that, and then they're still going to continue. It just shows that their love of music and their different styles of music. So yeah, in general, I just think we're probably one of the greatest modern rock bands on earth.
Yeah, and he was supposed to go and see them because it was actually for his birthday, because his birthday's in November, and that's when they were playing it. That's so sadly he missed it. Yeah. Quick one. Doesn't this like gun one look like Han Solo's pistol?
Right. Yes. So, if anyone's read his book,
The one that we heard in the car.
Yeah, the Foo Fighters. So, if you look at some of or listen to it, the Foo Fighters is actually a slang name for UFOs, an American slang name for UFOs. So he's very much into the sci-fi thing, and that's where that comes from.
Oh, and it's just actually caught my eye. And that was not me trying to open him up for something. No, it looked like Han Solo's pistol.
Also, one of the first punk bands that Dave Grohl went to see was a band called Naked Ray Gun, and that's basically a ray gun.
Yeah.
The old science fiction films.
Oh, cool. Right.
Wait. Oh my god. This is evil.
I'm torturing my father here. My favourite job.
Favourite song. Honestly, I can't name one. I honestly can't, because there's so many great songs that Queen have produced. It's probably one of my most favourite bands of all time, and one of my biggest regrets of never getting a chance to go and see them again. Freddie Mercury passed away back in the 90s, and that probably one of the greatest singers of all time, with a massive vocal range. And I think most people would say Bohemian Rhapsody was their greatest song.
But
that was probably the first song that I heard was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Really?
Yeah. Because my uncle had all their albums. No, that was probably Bohemian Rhapsody. Favourite song though.
By the way, you can't skip a question in these.
No, I'm just trying to think, because there is so many.
There's I will say that
The Show Must Go On. I think it must be. I think my most favourite, but it's probably one of the saddest songs. Is The Show Must Go On.
Quick one. You. Right, so have you ever? So I haven't been to a concert.
I've never seen them in concert. They last toured in the 80s and that, because after that, Freddie Mercury was too ill to actually play live. Thoughts on them in general? It's amazing that they've kept going with Adam Lambert.
I don't think that was a good idea.
By far, probably one of the greatest rock and roll bands that have come out of the UK ever.
If you're going to say that, you're not going to like what I did earlier. Right. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
That's an interesting one, because it's only recent years that I've got into them.
Really?
Yeah, it's only in recent years I've got into Tom Petty. Probably the last 10, 15 years, that's all it is. Whereas all the other bands have probably been longer. Favourite song? Probably Saving Grace is one of my favourites, but there's other ones, but Saving Grace is probably my favourite. First song I ever heard was probably Free Falling.
Free Fall.
Concert, sadly I missed them in Florida. Missed him and another guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember you talking to me about that.
I was leaving the same day from Florida on a business trip back when Tom Petty and Steve Winwood were playing. Thoughts on very underrated. So underrated.
Yeah.
Singer-songwriter of American 80s, 90s. Yeah, very underrated, I think, as a songwriter. Some great songs he came out with.
Yeah, I may be a bit biased here because obviously you guys know that my favourite TV show of all time is Young Sheldon. My favourite song is Learning to Fly by them. And for Queen, if I just go quickly back, for Queen, I'd say We Are the Champions. No, Don't Stop Me Now. Don't Stop Me Now is my favourite. Then for Beatles, it's actually, probably Yesterday. Foo Fighters, Arlandria.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah.
Later on, yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
You pick some really difficult ones, yeah.
That was the whole point of the video. You think I was going to be easy on you? Really?
Favourite song? Probably the most famous song is Stairway to Heaven, but my favourite is probably Whole Lot of Love. Whole Lot of Love is my favourite. First song I heard was probably Stairway to Heaven. Okay, which I think most people have heard, Stairway to Heaven. Concert, no. There's very few people that have actually had a chance to see them in concert. In the last 40 years, they've played twice, I think, in the last 40 years. Thoughts on them? Probably one of the greatest, along with...
You said that for quite a lot.
Yeah, but when you think it's another different style of music, Led Zeppelin was another different style of music. And there was so much mystery around them in the early days, until sadly John Bonham died, their drummer. Then Jason Bonham took over. His son took over in later years and that. But they're an amazing group with some rock and roll blues they were the forerunner for a lot of bands later on in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Throughout this whole video, I'm not making it easy for you.
No, certainly not.
You're gonna hate me after this.
Genesis. You spelled Genesis wrong, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Genesis, favourite song.
I'll say mine. I don't know a lot of Led Zeppelin, but I do know Genesis is I can feel it coming in the air.
Coming in the Air Tonight?
Yes.
That wasn't Genesis.
What? Oh, it was the main guy.
That was Phil Collins. So, favourite song? Probably Turn It On Again. First song you've heard. Funny enough, it was off Invisible Touch because I didn't really hear. They weren't one of the big bands at the time, Genesis. Their first commercial success was Invisible Touch, and that was probably the first song I heard of them. Then I started getting into their back catalogue. Have I seen them in concert? Yes.
Yeah, obviously that was the first ever
concert I ever went to. And thoughts on them. A great band, but not always people's cup of tea. Not always people's cup of tea. A lot of people do not realise that Phil Collins was not their original singer. It was a guy called Peter Gabriel, who went on to have a massive solo career, and did songs like Sledgehammer. What else? Did albums like So it was like he wasn't the original. He wasn't the original singer. And yeah, they were just a really good band. A great live band as well.
So that was your thoughts in general. Right. Yeah. I didn't change how it was spelt, unfortunately, but I do know I spelt it wrong.
Rolling Stones. Wow.
They've got some great covers, by the way.
Favourite song? Probably. Painted Black. First song. Jumping Jack Flash is probably my first song. Yes, I've seen them in concert. I see them over here.
When were they over here?
Probably when we first came over to Abu Dhabi. So
that one.
2011.
2011. Yeah, I was
2012 maybe.
3 or 4 years old. Yeah, definitely wouldn't remember that. Yeah, and then thoughts on them in general?
Can't. They keep going. I'm not a lover of their albums. I must admit. Their greatest hits, yes, but live-wise, I don't think you're going to get anyone better. They've had some great lineups in the past. With Bill Wyman being in there, you've got Charlie Watts. Mick Jagger's probably one of the most enigmatic performers going. But yeah, and as I said, between them and the Beatles, these were more blues, Chicago blues and American blues band rather than a rock and roll band, which the Beatles were. And it's the choice between Rolling Stones or the Beatles. And yeah, but the thoughts on them, they are a great band still. Great band. You either I think you either love them or you hate them.
Yes, there's quite a few like that.
I'll definitely go and see them in concert again just for the experience.
There's one I haven't put on here, but I will ask you anyway.
Go on.
I will do it later on.
Roses, blimey. Favourite song? Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, Dad, yeah.
First song. Crikey, first
My
song.
first song was actually...
Sorry, I'll change that. Favourite song is November Rain. My first song is probably... first song was Sweet Child of Mine.
You're cringy.
I have seen them in concert. I see them over here.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What was this?
It was one of the Grand Prix concerts.
Oh yes, so it was. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. Thoughts on them? Bunch of absolute madmen, but probably the greatest guitarists we slashed that's walked the earth as a pure rock and roll.
I didn't know.
Heavy metal guitarist, I'd say that Slash is probably one of the best.
I didn't know they did a song for Terminator.
Yeah, he's done a few. He did Live and Let Die. He did a remake of one of Paul McCartney's songs from James Bond. But yeah, they are good. They are great in concert.
Yeah. What's this next one?
AC/DC. You picked some real tough ones here.
Yeah, right. We were what's it called? Driving home, and I was asking him like, what would you want to talk about? And he just ranted off a load of names. I said I'll make 3 questions, and I just wrote a load of ones.
AC/DC.
I ain't stupid.
Wow.
My favourite song, Thunderstruck.
Heavy rock. They are great band. Never seen them in concert.
Never
seen them in concert.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them in concert. Whether they'll tour again, I don't know, because again, they're getting on a bit. They're getting on a bit. So I don't know if they'll ever tour again. Especially Malcolm Young, he's passed away. Angus is still bashing out on the strumming on that guitar and that. Favourite song though?
You can go with an easy
Back
one.
in Black, probably.
Oh,
Yeah. First song I heard. Highway to Hell is probably the first song I ever heard of theirs. I haven't been in concert, but they are a great band. Aging now, sadly, but at the time when they were big, you had some amazing bands: Iron Maiden, Motorhead, AC/DC, all that lot were about in like late 80s, and they were just a great band to go and see live.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Back in Black, some people may not know. You'll probably recognize it if you've seen the Iron Man movie, but that like it's pure. It's a staple for Iron Man. This person disagrees.
Yeah.
Chat that. No one else. Right. Next one.
Oh, I'm not. Iron Maiden. I'm not a massive fan of Iron Maiden. I must admit.
Who did Master of Puppets?
Metallica, Master of Puppets. Metallica did Master of Puppets.
Never mind, I got the wrong band here.
Iron Maiden.
No, I meant to put Metallica there. No.
No, it's Iron Maiden. Never seen him in concert. A great 80s, 90s rock and roll heavy metal band that came out of the UK.
Really?
Sorry?
Really?
Yeah, they came out of the UK. Same as AC/DC. Originally, they were from Scotland and they went to Australia, and that's where they were. They came out of Australia. Brian Johnson's from Newcastle and that.
Yeah, I know that.
Iron Maiden, another. Yeah, you got Bruce Dickinson, who was an amazing frontman for Iron Maiden. The one on the figure on their, or the mascot on their albums is Eddie. It's become an icon. They've just released some stamps in the UK, postage stamps in the UK in commemoration of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, they also have Funko Pops.
Favourite song?
I have actually got these mixed up. I meant to put Metallica.
They're still a great band. I don't know. I honestly don't know what my favourite song, because I'm not really into them. And first song I've heard, can't remember, I'm afraid.
Oh well. So how different are we? Considering I listen to people like the Chainsmokers, One Republic and more, it is safe to say that we are most definitely different, but there is a couple that we agree on. Like Elvis, right? You agree with Elvis?
Yeah. King of rock and roll.
Yeah. Now these are aimed at me. Favourite song, If I Can Dream. First song I ever heard, Jailhouse Rock. Have you been to a concert? No, he's dead.
Yeah.
I saw the movie. Brilliant. Thoughts on them? Absolutely amazing. He had such a rough life and a very bad manager. But like one of the, as he said, the king of rock. King of rock. So yeah. I need to zoom through these because we are over the time limit. Elton John. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Favourite song? Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. First song I ever heard? No. I'm Still Standing. Have you been to a concert?
Yes, I have.
You...
I've seen him in concert.
No! I'm now sad now.
Yeah, I've seen him in concert.
I haven't. Thoughts on him in general? Speechless. One of the guy I always listen to his music. I've watched Rocket Man. I can't count how many times.
One of the most flamboyant rock pianists. Now, bear in mind, he plays piano and he's a rock pianist. He's the ultimate rock pianist. So my favourite song is probably saying Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. First song I ever heard was Rocket Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Rocket Man was probably the second song I ever heard. Yeah, as I say, he's like he altered the way like music was made. Chainsmokers' favourite song. You hate them.
I don't hate them, it's just a different era of music.
Yeah, you're old. Riptide's my favourite. First song I've ever heard of them was probably Closer in 2015. Have you been to a concert? No, but I'm constantly looking out for one. Thoughts on them in general? One of the best duos in of our era. Obviously, he won't agree. So,
in this era, they possibly are.
Yeah, especially for DJing as well. So, as I said, we're just trying to rush through these because they're never usually half an hour long. So One Republic. This I can zoom through this one in under 30 seconds. Watch me. Favorite song? Good Life. First song you ever heard? Oh, actually, that's difficult. Probably Counting Stars. Have you been to a concert? Yes, I have. I have been to a concert. Mm-hmm. This man was in the UK, and you missed out on a great lot.
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, like, I love all like practically all of their music, and Thoughts of Them in general, best band ever. You all agree? No, you'll disagree.
No, of course it will, because
Different era.
different era.
But these were like the 2000s though.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's
again,
like
you were like
era.
1900s. Yeah. So what now? Green Day. Ooh, this is different because my favorite song's 21 Guns. First song you ever heard is probably Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Have you been to a concert? Do they still do concerts?
Yeah, Green Day are still touring.
No. But no, I would like to. And Thoughts on Them in general. It's it's kind of a modern day rock, which is why I like them, because I don't really listen to a lot of rock.
It's a new age rock. Yeah.
I don't really listen to rock, but these people make it work, at least for me. And if it works for me, then amazing. So now, so these are the final questions. There's 3 of these. I'm just doing putting my dad to the test here. So, Foo Fighters or the Beatles?
The Beatles.
Okay, I was going to say choose wisely. You say the Beatles.
Yeah. Because if it wasn't for the Beatles, you wouldn't have the Foo Fighters.
That is a bold statement.
It is. You wouldn't. If you didn't have the Beatles, bands like the Beatles, you wouldn't have the Foo Fighters. That's Dave Grohl. That's what he was brought up listening to. That and jazz.
Well, that I don't know. Yeah, I listened to the audiobook as well. It's hilarious. So you choose the Beatles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Queen.
God damn it! I'm trying to be hard on you.
Led Zeppelin or Queen? For my mind, Queen, because the. Yeah.
I should have gone Queen and Beatles. Damn it.
That would have been unfair. But no, for that one, Queen. For my favourite is for Queen.
Okay, well, just for now, Queen versus Beatles. This silence is killing me.
Again, I'd go for the Beatles because again, if you didn't have the Beatles, don't forget the Beatles were a lot were earlier than Queen. If you didn't have the Beatles, you wouldn't have Queen.
Well, they do like cancel each other out. They are
great. The Beatles have been a massive influence for many bands, many artists.
Yeah. Oh, oof. Yikes. Right. AC/DC.
Again, 2 totally different genres of music.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I'd say Tom Petty.
What?
Yeah, I'd say Tom Petty. I know that surprised you, but I like the music he does.
That threw me for a curveball.
And the type of music he's played, because he's not only played for a solo, he's also obviously played with the Travelling Wilburys, who one of the biggest super groups going. That you actually had one of the Beatles in that, and Bob Dylan, which are 2 of the great artists. So, for my mind, Tom Petty.
Wow. I honestly thought you was going to say your AC/DC.
No, Tom Petty.
Wow. Oh, okay then. Well, everyone, that'll be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is obviously the first one of 2023, where there's more to come this month and next month. And thank you, Dad, for coming onto the channel.
Thank you very much.
Did you enjoy that?
Very much so. It's very good.
Yes. Obviously, if you have any opinions, leave them below. If you have anyone to blame, blame him. And yeah, I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.